Hello everyone. Today let us read some of the basic concepts of Prime Minister from chapter 20 of Lakshmikant's Indian Polity. As we all know, Prime Minister is the head of the government, whereas President is the head of the country. So President is called as de jure executive, whereas Prime Minister is called as real executive. Here we have to remember about one main article, that is Article 75 of the Indian Constitution. Article 75 will talk about Prime Minister. It says that Prime Minister is appointed by the President. Prime Minister is appointed by the President. But here we should know that which person is going to get appointed as Prime Minister. That is, President will appoint a person as Prime Minister. But who is that person? We have to know that concept here first. So, the President will appoint the leader of the majority party in the Lok Sabha as the Prime Minister. The party, there are different political parties, right? So, the party which will get majority of votes in the Lok Sabha, from that majority party, the leader of that majority party will be appointed as the Prime Minister by the President. We can get a doubt that when no party gets majority, who will be appointed as Prime Minister? Then of course, President will use her own discretion to appoint the Prime Minister. Now, we have to understand that when the Prime Minister in office dies, then who will again become a Prime Minister? We can get this doubt. So, here the thing is, in earlier days, when the Prime Minister in office dies, then the President used to appoint one more Prime Minister based on a discretion. But now, the circumstances changed. Now, if at all the Prime Minister in office dies, then the President will appoint that person who will be recommended by the ruling party, that is Council of Ministers. Whoever's name will be given by the Council of Ministers, that person will be appointed as the Prime Minister by the President. Now, what we have to know next is about Prime Minister is that Prime Minister will be from Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha is our doubt. So, the Prime Minister can be from Lok Sabha or the Rajya Sabha, but nowadays most of the Prime Ministers are getting appointed from Lok Sabha. They are getting selected from Lok Sabha. But there are many cases in which Prime Ministers were appointed from Rajya Sabha. For example, Manmohan Singh, he was Rajya Sabha member, Indira Gandhi was Rajya Sabha member, Deve Gowda was Rajya Sabha member, but they were appointed by Prime Ministers. Here we have to understand the main difference between Prime Minister of India and Prime Minister of Britain. That is, Prime Minister of India will be appointed from Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha. He can be from Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha. But in UK, the Prime Minister should and must be from Lok Sabha only. Now, we have understood about the appointment of Prime Minister by the President, from which house will the Prime Minister get elected and all. Now, we have to know the oath, term and salary of the Prime Minister. Generally, who will be giving the oath to the Prime Minister? That is, the President will administer the oath to the Prime Minister. The oath of the Prime Minister, that is, the Prime Minister will swear as to bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of India, to uphold the sovereignty and integrity of India, to faithfully discharge and the duties of her office, to do right to all the manner of people in accordance with the Constitution without fear. The Prime Minister post is very precious and an important post in India. Not only in India, and throughout the world. So, the Prime Minister should keep in mind that she should not directly or indirectly communicate or reveal any of the topics to other person. That is, maybe he might have been his close friend or family members or best friend or anyone, but he cannot reveal the secrets of the government to anyone. Now, what is the time period of Prime Minister? That is, what is the term? Here we should know that the term of the Prime Minister, it is not fixed by the Constitution or it is not made by the Parliament. Here, the Prime Minister will hold office during the pleasure of the President. That is, if the President is not interested, then he can be removed by the President. That is, Prime Minister can be removed by the President. But the president should remember that she or he cannot remove the prime minister until he is enjoying the majority support of the Lok Sabha. If at all the prime minister will lose the support of the Lok Sabha, then president is having the right to remove the prime minister. The salary and the allowances of the prime minister are determined by the parliament from time to time. And also, along with this, the prime minister will also get some allowance like free accommodation, traveling allowance, medical facilities, etc. So the parliament is having a right to change this allowance gratitude from time to time. So earlier it was 1500, that is the additional payment for prime minister, like free allowance, transportation allowance, house allowance, medical facilities and all. Now it is increased up to 3000 per month. So now let us read about what are the functions of the prime minister. So the first thing is, after he gets appointed as prime minister by the president, the prime minister will recommend the persons who can be appointed as ministers by the president, who are council of ministers. That is, to understand easily, council of ministers are appointed by the president on the recommendation of the prime minister. The second function of the prime minister is, she will allocate and reshuffle various portfolios among the ministers. That is, the prime minister will distribute different works to the ministers. The third function of the prime minister is, she can ask a minister to resign or advise the president to remove him in case of difference of opinion. That is, there is some issue going on between the prime minister and the council of minister, any individual minister, then the prime minister is having the right to ask the minister to resign or advise the president to remove him. The next function of the prime minister is, she or he will preside over the meetings of the council of ministers and help in the decision making process. The next, she will guide, direct, control and coordinate all the activities of the ministers. Here we have to remember one important function of the prime minister, that is the very important thing, that is, when the prime minister is resigning from the office, entire council of ministers will get collapsed, because prime minister is very important post. She or he is heading the council of ministers, that is the leader of the council of ministers, and mainly council of ministers are appointed by the president on the recommendation of prime minister. That is the reason, based on his recommendations only, the president will appoint them. So hence, if the prime minister is going away from the office, then the council of ministers, the post of the council of ministers will get collapsed. Next, the prime minister is also having relation with the president. That is, it is the duty of the prime minister to communicate to the president all the decisions of the council of ministers. That is, whenever the council of ministers with the head of prime minister are taking some decisions, they are involved in some decision making process, it is the responsibility of the prime minister to inform all the decisions to the president.